300 pounds of cabbage feeds a family through winter. Korean monks grow that much in a space smaller than a parking spot, using methods refined over 5 centuries. No chemicals, no tilling. Just deep observation and working with nature instead of fighting it. Here's the temple farming system. The 100-square-foot temple bed. Temple beds measure 10 feet by 10 feet. That's 100 square feet producing 300 pounds annually. The bed is permanent. Build it once and harvest from it for decades. Monks never walk in the growing area. Paths around all 4 sides provide access. Each bed holds 60 to 75 cabbage plants using intensive spacing. 3 succession plantings over the season multiply production. Same footprint. Triple the harvest because timing replaces space. Intensive hexagonal spacing. Western rows space cabbages 18 to 24 inches apart in lines. That's 16 to 25 plants per 100 square feet. Temple spacing uses a hexagonal offset pattern at 12 inches between plants. Each cabbage sits in the center of a hexagon, surrounded by 6 neighbors equidistant in all directions. This eliminates wasted gaps between rows. You fit 60 to 75 plants in the same 100 square feet. The leaves touch at maturity, creating a continuous canopy that shades soil, suppresses weeds, and holds moisture. No bare ground exists after 4 weeks of growth. 3-wave succession system. Plant early variety in late March for June harvest. Plant mid-season variety 3 weeks later in mid-April for July harvest. Plant late variety in early May for September harvest. Each wave occupies the bed for 12 to 14 weeks from transplant to harvest. Early cabbages finish and come out while mid-season cabbages are still growing, and late cabbages are just transplanted into gaps. The bed never sits empty. Continuous production from April through September, from 3 plantings in the same space. Add season extension and harvest continues through December. Western gardeners plant once in spring and harvest once in summer, from the same plants occupying space for 4 months without succession. Deep dug, permanent beds. Temple beds are double dug once at establishment, then never tilled again. Remove soil from the top 12 inches and set aside. Loosen soil in the bottom 12 inches with a fork without removing it. Mix compost into the loosened bottom layer. Return the top 12 inches mixed with more compost. The result is 24 inches of loose, fertile soil. Plant roots penetrate deeply instead of spreading horizontally in compacted, shallow soil. Deep roots access water and nutrients during drought that shallow-rooted cabbages can't reach. The bed is permanent with wooden or stone borders. Walking on it would compact the soil structure you just created. Paths between beds provide access. After the initial labor investment of 4 to 6 hours to double dig, you never dig again. One annual maintenance is adding 2 to 4 inches of compost to the surface each spring. Earthworms incorporate it. Soil structure improves every year as biology builds instead of being destroyed by annual tilling. Polyculture companion. Gilds cabbage. Monoculture attracts cabbage moths that lay eggs which become cabbage worms that eat leaves. Temple beds interplant aromatic herbs and flowers throughout the cabbage planting. Every 5th cabbage gets replaced by Korean perilla, garlic chives, or chrysanthemum greens. The strong scented companions mask the cabbage smell from moths searching for host plants. Chrysanthemum flowers attract parasitic wasps that lay eggs inside cabbage worm larvae. The wasp larvae eat the worms from inside. Garlic chives repel aphids with sulfur compounds. Perilla attracts beneficial ground beetles that eat cabbage moth eggs before they hatch. The companion ratio is 70% cabbage, 20% aromatics, 10% flowers. In a bed of 75 plants, 53 are cabbage, 15 are perilla and chives, 7 are flowering chrysanthemums. This biodiversity creates ecosystem balance where pest populations never explode because predators establish and regulate them naturally. Buddhist precept forbids killing so monks don't handpick worms or spray pesticides. They create conditions where natural predators do the work. Temple-made fermented fertilizers. Monks don't buy fertilizer. They make it from temple grounds and kitchen waste using Korean natural farming fermentation methods. Fermented plant juice comes from chopping fast-growing weeds and mixing equal parts by weight with brown sugar. The mixture ferments for 7 to 10 days, producing liquid concentrated in growth hormones and nutrients. Dilute 1 part juice to 500 parts water for weekly foliar spray on cabbage leaves. Indigenous microorganisms are cultured from forest soil on the temple grounds. Mix cooked rice with soil from undisturbed areas. The beneficial bacteria and fungi colonize the rice. Mix that with brown sugar and water to multiply the organisms. This culture is added to the bed soil and compost to boost beneficial biology that feeds plants and suppresses disease. Fish amino acids come from fermenting fish scraps with brown sugar for 3 months. The resulting liquid is concentrated protein diluted 1 to 1,000 for application during head formation, when cabbages need extra nitrogen. Total annual cost for these inputs is $10 to $15 in brown sugar. Commercial equivalent would cost $80 to $150 in bagged fertilizers. The fermented inputs feed soil organisms that feed plants. Synthetic fertilizers feed plants directly while killing the soil biology that makes nutrients available naturally. Season extension infrastructure. Temple gardens extend the season 8 to 10 weeks using simple low tunnels. After the late variety is transplanted in May, monks install bamboo hoops over the bed, spaced every 4 feet. Clear plastic sheeting stretched over the hoops creates a mini greenhouse. The tunnel stays open at both ends for ventilation during warm months. In October, when night temperatures drop below 40 degrees, the ends get closed. The plastic traps heat during the day and releases it slowly at night. Inside, temperature stays 10 to 15 degrees warmer than outside. Cabbage tolerates light frost, but production slows below 40 degrees. The tunnel keeps plants actively growing through November and December. Construction cost is $20 to $30 for bamboo poles and plastic sheeting that lasts 3 to 5 years. The tunnel pays for itself in the first season by adding 50 to 75 pounds of production from the extended harvest window. Cabbages harvested in December after cold exposure are sweeter than summer harvest because the plant converts starches to sugars as frost protection. Korean monks consider winter cabbage superior for kimchi because the sweetness balances fermented sourness. Buddhist no-kill pest management temple farming follows a himsa principle of non-harm. Monks don't kill pests even when they damage crops. This isn't naive idealism. It's a sophisticated understanding of ecosystem dynamics. Year 1 in a new temple garden, pest damage is significant because the system is out of balance. Cabbage moths find the cabbages. Worms eat leaves. Aphids colonize stems. Monks accept this damage as part of establishing a new ecosystem. They plant companions to provide beneficial insect habitat, but don't intervene with sprays or handpicking. Year 2, parasitic wasps and ground beetles that arrived year 1 have reproduced. Their populations are higher. Pest damage decreases noticeably because predators are controlling pests naturally. Year 3 and beyond, the system self-regulates. Pest populations never explode because predator populations respond quickly to any increase. Some damage always occurs, but it stabilizes at 5 to 10% of plants, which is acceptable loss. The key is patience and trust in natural cycles. Western gardening panics at first pest sightings and reaches for chemicals that kill pests and predators equally, preventing natural balance from establishing. Temple approach accepts temporary damage, knowing the system corrects itself within 2 to 3 seasons. This requires faith that seems passive but demonstrates deep ecological understanding. Variety selection strategy. 3 different cabbage varieties create automatic succession, even if you plant all on the same day. Early varieties mature in 60 to 70 days from transplant. Korean early summer is a loose leaf type harvested when young and tender. Mid-season varieties mature in 75 to 85 days. Korean autumn produces medium-dense heads perfect for fresh eating and short-term storage. Late varieties mature in 90 to 100 days. Korean winter forms tight, heavy heads that store for months and are traditional kwemahi cabbage. Plant all 3 varieties simultaneously in late March. By June, early variety is ready. By July, mid-season variety heads up. By September, late variety reaches full size for harvest and storage. This simplified approach requires only 1 planting session instead of 3 separate transplanting dates. You still get extended harvest because genetics create the succession timing. The trade-off is less total production because you can't triple crop the bed with 3 separate plantings. But for gardeners intimidated by succession timing, this variety-based approach delivers significantly better results than single variety planting, while requiring less management. Temple gardens use both methods. The main bed runs true succession with 3 plantings. Smaller beds use variety succession for simplicity. Why Western methods? Fail American gardening spaces cabbages for tractor access, not plant biology. Those 24-inch rows exist so machines can drive between them for mechanical cultivation and harvest. Home gardeners copy commercial spacing without mechanical equipment, wasting 50% of bed area on unnecessary gaps. The wide spacing also prevents microclimate creation. Wind dries soil between isolated plants. Temperature fluctuates wildly. Pests easily locate host plants because scent isn't masked by companions. Western method plants once in spring for single summer harvest, leaving beds empty before and after the short production window. 3 to 4 months of the growing season produce nothing from space that could be cycling through multiple crops. Synthetic fertilizers force quick growth but kill soil biology. Plants become dependent on constant chemical feeding because the natural nutrient cycling system is dead. Pest problems increase because stressed plants emit chemical signals that attract insects, while beneficial predators find no habitat in monoculture beds. The gardener enters an escalating cycle of more fertilizer to push growth and more pesticides to fight pests. Yields might look acceptable the first season, but decline over time as soil degrades and pest resistance develops. Temple method front loads work in year 1 building soil and establishing polyculture. After that, the system improves automatically. Yields increase each year as soil biology matures. Pest damage decreases as predator populations stabilize. Less intervention produces better results because you're working with natural systems instead of fighting them. Harvest and preservation temple cabbage. Harvest happens in 3 ways depending on use and timing. Continuous outer leaf harvest treats cabbage like a cut-and-come-again crop. Once plants reach basketball size, outer leaves are removed weekly for fresh eating. The head continues forming in the center while you harvest surrounding leaves. One plant provides leaves for weeks before the head is finally cut. This maximizes total production from each plant. Whole head harvest happens when heads reach full dense size. Cut at soil level, leaving roots in the ground to decompose and feed soil organisms. Harvest early varieties in June and July for immediate fresh use. Mid-season varieties in August are split between fresh eating and short-term storage. Late varieties harvested in September and October are primarily for winter storage and kimchi making. Root cellar storage preserves whole heads for 4 to 6 months at 32 to 40 degrees with high humidity. Monks store cabbages in underground cellars where natural earth temperature stays stable. Home gardeners can use unheated basement, garage, or buried containers. Wrap heads in newspaper to prevent moisture loss. Check monthly and remove any showing rot before it spreads. Kimchi fermentation preserves cabbage indefinitely. The traditional November Kimjong community event processes the entire late harvest into kimchi that provides probiotics and vegetables through winter and spring. 300 pounds of fresh cabbage becomes 40 to 50 gallons of kimchi in various styles. Temple kimchi uses no fish sauce or shrimp paste, following a vegetarian Buddhist diet. Salt, Korean red pepper, garlic, ginger, and thyme create complex fermented flavors that improve over months in storage. Your first season start with a single 100-square-foot bed this spring. Spend 1 weekend double digging the bed and building permanent borders. Order seeds for 3 Korean cabbage varieties from specialty suppliers like Kaitazawa Seed Company. Plant early variety transplants in late March, mid-season in mid-April, late variety in early May. Use 12-inch hexagonal spacing fitting 60 to 75 plants per wave. Interplant companions at every 5th position. Make fermented plant juice from weeds you pull while preparing the bed. Apply weekly as foliar spray diluted 1 to 500. Accept some pest damage year 1, knowing the ecosystem is establishing. By June, harvest your first early cabbages. Notice how the intensive spacing creates complete canopy coverage. By September, harvest late varieties that spent summer developing dense heads. Calculate total production. 60 plants at 4 to 6 pounds each equals 240 to 360 pounds from that single bed. Compare that to conventional spacing that would fit 20 plants producing 80 to 120 pounds. You've tripled production from identical space using methods Korean monks refined over 5 centuries. Next season, add low tunnels for season extension. Start indigenous microorganism culture from your local forest soil. Divide companions for expansion. The bed you built this year will produce for decades, with only annual compost, top dressing, and succession planting. That's temple farming adapted to your backyard.